first time I can remember ever listening to music, besides my mother singing to me, was maybe when I was about 4 or 5 or 6, maybe, somewhere in there. My dad always had a bunch of albums, and he used to play them on the phonograph. Those were 78 RPM records, and they were made out of glass, I guess, or some form of that, because if you dropped one, it would break.
I love like vinyl records and CDs and tapes and like whatever. I got an iPod.
There's a lot of guilty pleasures in this world. iPods are one of them. I've had 3. Guilty.
I was in a record store the other day, and like this like old bald dude that works at Twist and Shout Records, he was just like talking to me about vinyl and stuff, and he's a pretty cool dude. He was saying how vinyl and like just buying music in general gives you so much more than just the iPod, will give you. You know what I mean? Like sitting on your floor at home and like holding a record or holding a CD and like looking through it, seeing pictures of a band, be like, wow, this is cool. I want to be a part of this. I want to own this. I want to like fucking feel this. You know what I mean? Like this type of music and this culture.
And then from that point, they went to 45s. So the 45 record had a little hole in the center, and it was a smaller type thing. It was almost the size of today's CDs.
I'm a huge record person, and a CD, I always want to buy the CD, but I mean, I have an iPod, and I love digital music.
I don't have an iPod, but frankly, I would really like to have an iPod because I own, about 500 albums at least, and so I would like to carry around most of that music around with me,
I mean, I noticed really definitely in the past year, I would say, there's been like a dramatic increase in Boulder, Colorado of, I would say mostly students, but also probably, young professionals, having iPods and using them more, like in the library, in classes, you see people with their iPod on in class, on the bus, just walking around.
It seems like the fact that we can carry so much music with us nowadays, it's so much easier to access that it's not like you have to carry around a stack of CDs or even like a book of CDs in your car. You have so much variety at your disposal. You don't think about racks of CDs anymore. You think about gigs on your hard drive.
I think it's a big part of the democratization of music in general, because the thing about MP3s is that they're so easy to get, and you can have so many of them, that what's happened is that our generation, specifically our time right now, has more music available to them than any other generation before them.
I collect everything from Elvis to Peg Destroyer to 45 Grave to Johnny Cash, Johnny Rebel and Burzum and Merzbow and Ray Charles.
That's something really amazing when you stop to think about it, because we can get the entire Beatles or Zeppelin or any classic rock back catalog on our computer, not taking up space, and essentially for free too.
I think music should be free for anybody who wants to listen to whatever.
I think honestly MP3s and downloading can be great for music, because as long as someone sucks or they're just a novelty, you're just going to download it and never buy it. But real good music, I think people are going to appreciate and want to attain it. They want to have it. They want to see that record. They want to see that CD. They want to be like, this is mine.
It just makes music so much more accessible, and it's something that I think is really wonderful. And it's not queering the music industry. It's just shifting the paradigm. And it's something that's been a long time coming, because the fall of the major record labels is something that's that needed to happen.
It's basically mainstream now. There's really no such thing as indie.
Now it's indie and everybody has it on their iPod. So it's a commercial genre by its word. There's nothing indie about it, because it came around through the iPod, through the podcast, through everybody saying, you need to download this on your iPod. Your iPod needs this.
The boom of the indie market has coincided with the fucking with the boom in the iPod market and the digital music revolution.
It seems like an isolating thing. You have this one little iPod that you carry in your pocket with your headphones, so you listen to your music, and it seems to take away some of the shared things about music where you're not necessarily experiencing it with someone else. You're not sitting down in the same room listening to the same music as someone else. You're sitting there on the bus with your iPod and listening to your music alone. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing.
It's like when you're at the bus stop, sitting there, standing alone, you feel like you need something to be doing. And instead of talking to the people around you, listen to your music. And I don't think that's right, really. But I certainly participate in it because I hate awkward moments.
So to me, it's just about, it's a question of whether or not people are able to be comfortable without stimulation, you know, because what the iPod has done, you know, in conjunction with the cell phone, you know, and earlier on car radio, that kind of thing, is to make it so you never have to be alone with your thoughts, literally ever.
Then the newest technology after that was the 4-track cassette. That was installed in my car, and those didn't last very long. Maybe a couple of years before the 8 tracks came.
One thing about music right now is there's very little that isn't being touched. Even, I mean, as far as things that were considered underground, things that were considered heavy and brutal are very like accepted. And like, you hear bands that are playing like very thick, dense death metal and getting into funk grooves. I think the thing is, it's just such, I mean, we're like in a postmodern time. Everyone's mixing and matching styles, you know? I almost don't think anything is too new. Everything's just kind of cut and paste.
There were certain economic changes in the early to mid 1970s that privileged higher speed product half-lives so that, you know, people were getting sold more stuff more often.
I have seen the iPod vending machines at Safeway, which is an amazing phenomenon. It's a grocery store, and yet you can swipe your credit card and get a 60 gigabyte video iPod to shoot out to you. I mean, that's so accessible.
Does this vending machine make any money at all? Or is it simply there placed by Apple to, you know, some kind of viral marketing campaign?
As these business practices got sped up, people became used to seeing more images all the time and to having a broader awareness of the world through market integration and through advertising. And the cumulative effect of which is what he calls the collapse of space and time, so that it's not at all weird for anyone to learn something about, you know, the 15th century now. I mean, the 15th century is in your TV as easily as the, you know, 21st century is.
You know, rock and roll was a product of people that liked gospel, blues, country, and jazz. You know what I mean? Rock and roll wasn't one thing. If you think about what happened in the 80s, that was an explosion of styles. You had new wave, you had post-punk, you know, punk rock, you had hardcore and thrash, and then, you know, subsequently grindcore evolving. You had black metal. I mean, even pop music was changing. Disco wasn't popular, you know?
Well, you know, the 70s, there was some disco in there at some point, but that was pretty short-lived.
Now it's like, we have so much history and so many people trying that music, is now you can be fucking damn good at it, you know what I mean? It's like, if you do your homework, you can do that style, whereas before it was like, we were making a new style, it's pushing limits, and no one's ever tried this. We don't even know if it's going to get popular, you know? So right now, I think you can only get really good at something, or do the same old thing with a new concept. It's almost like a new action movie. It's not James Bond, no, this is XXX, but it's the same concept. It's just, no, it's the same style of movie, different character, you know? That's all you can really do, I think, is create new characters for the same music.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of artists do this now, you know, like just taking such radically different elements and putting them together that it sort of it challenges the idea that there is any like single unified like truth or plane of reality, you know. But definitely in terms of television or fiction, it's like if you can use something from the past, and I think Beck does that really well, or Coco Rosie, I'm sure any number of bands do, where they're able to use things from the past and not use them in a sense to belittle them or to point out that they're quaint or anything like that, but just to use them because they can do something new with it, you know. They can do something new and something pertinent to the age in which we live in which you are exposed to thousands of images every day, you know, in which you can watch the History Channel and move through the entirety of human history in 3 hours, you know, or the Travel Channel and, you know, see every country in the world in 3 hours or whatever. So in a certain sense, art has to be postmodern now if it's going to be meaningful, because that's our experience, you know, that's how we experience the world now. I mean, you have seen everywhere in the world before you've been there, you know, and so art has to be on that page somehow. Postmodernity is that experience. It's the experience of collapsed space and time, but it's inextricable from consumerism.
Each kind of music or style or artist is totally, you know, has different intent and purpose. But I think if you listen to music, you know, with the intent to understand what the emotion's for, and I mean, if there's not a lot to get out of the music, then it's supposed to be made for fun and dancing and jumping around or just pondering. But like, or you know, but if you're listening to music that is actually trying to tell you something, whether it's lyrically or just musically, then you should try to appreciate and understand what they're saying.
I identify with country music, with blues music, soul, reggae, funk, jazz, everything, you know. I identify with all those bands and groups and genres and stuff because it's like, you know, they're saying stuff that I agree with and they make music that I enjoy, and I think it's still like artistic expression that's cool, you know.
Through the